Demadre, Quiana, and Jawalia in the season finale, it seemed like most of the episode was just Demadre and Quiana driving around in their car. So Demadre and Quiana were at their house. Then suddenly Demadre got a text message from Jawalia, and she's like, hey, if you want all this behind you, then I want Quiana to meet up with me at this restaurant. She sent the Addy, and she's like, and if she meets up with me, then I'll dismiss the charges. Demadre jumps in his car with Quiana, and he tells her what Jawalia just texted him. And for Quiana, this isn't even something she's even considering one bit. Every single time he brings up the idea of her meeting up with Jawalia, she immediately shuts it down. Like, she already has her mind made up, and there's no making her budge at all. I don't think she knows Jawalia like super great, but I think she has a good idea of how Jawalia is after dealing with her for so many years. And I think she realizes that as she meets up with Jawalia, like, Jawalia's probably expecting Quiana to show up and get on her hands and knees and beg for forgiveness and be willing to admit to what she did. And I feel like if Quiana doesn't sit there and say everything that Jawalia wants her to say, then Jawalia is going to sit there and be like, oh, I'm not going to drop the charges. And I think Quiana knows that. And she realizes that there's a good chance of her doing all this and the charges still not getting dropped. And if anything, there being more beef afterwards. And I think she is wanting to live in denial a little bit longer. And she knows that Jawalia and Demadre are still hooking up. And she doesn't want to see the receipts. Jawalia said she wants to meet up with Quiana to make sure that things are good between them since their kids are going to be around each other. But then she's like, oh, you know, if I got to sit there and act crazy to get my point across, then I'm going to do that. And I think she already had her mind made up on how she was going to act when she got there, was going to be confrontational from the jump. And Quiana, she's like, look, I ain't got it to do. I know how Jawalia is. We haven't been able to resolve things in over 10 years. It's not going to magically get resolved today. Demadre brought up, you know, meeting up with Jawalia to Quiana. And I thought he was really going to do what he could to talk her into it. I'm sure the producers were in his ear like, come on, you know that would be a fire scene. But he kind of at first seemed like he was bored. He's like, come on, I just need this dead, you know, nothing's gonna get resolved if we don't do anything. But once Quiana was like, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea, he took that and ran with it, because I think he wanted her to low-key not want to meet up with Jawalia, because he doesn't want any more of his dirt being spilled. He knows that there's a good possibility that Jawalia is just gonna show all the receipts, and that's just gonna probably end up with him and Quiana breaking up. Jawalia was just waiting at this restaurant, ordering her some strong shots, anticipating Quiana to show up. And the whole time, you know, we got Quiana and Demadre driving around. So I thought for sure that they were heading to Jawalia to go meet up. But eventually we see them pull over. They're not meeting up with Jawalia. And Jawalia decided to eventually leave the restaurant. But Jawalia's, you know, turned up from that strong drink. She's feeling feisty. She wants to talk to Quiana. So she decides to go pull up on Quiana while she's in the middle of doing a confessional. So Quiana's sitting there talking to the producers. Next thing you know, you hear a knock on the door. It was the weirdest thing ever, because suddenly we see Quiana open the door and then the screen goes black and it says production turned off the cameras to give them space. Like, are you serious? Like any other time when anything else is going on, the cameras stay on. Even when we've seen people beg the cameras to stop filming and to turn the cameras off, they continue rolling. So why did they decide to all spontaneously stop filming at the same time? That was so freaking annoying. I'm like, come on now. It even had me doubting the scene. I'm like, okay, did they even meet up face to face, or did you just have them like in separate rooms? And were you like, okay, talk to the mic like you're talking to Jawalia and talk a bunch of smack, and then they just combine the audios together. That's kind of how I was feeling for a moment. Got me out here second guessing if the scene's even real, just because they decided to cut the cameras off, and they cut the cameras off quick as hell too. Like, we didn't even get to see Jawalia's face. Like, they didn't even know who was at the door before they were turning the cameras off. That was just so weird to me. But they act like Jawalia showed up at Quiana's door, and as she did, I mean, that is kind of out of pocket to just show up unannounced. Or maybe they talked to Quiana and they're like, hey, you know, we need this for the season finale, so if you're not going to meet her at the restaurant, then we need a quick little face-to-face outside on your porch. And maybe Quiana was like, okay, but the only way we're going to do it is if the cameras are off. Maybe that's why, and maybe that's why the cameras were so prepared to turn the cameras off so quickly. I don't know, but regardless, Jawalia pulls up on Quiana, and Quiana was popping off on her. She said, I told you not to come here. What are you doing? And was pretty much just telling her to go. And Jawalia had an attitude too, and she's like, see, this is just how she is. It went pretty much how I expected it to go. They were just interrupting each other. They were trying to seem like the tougher person. But I will give it to Jawalia. She didn't seem confrontational at first. She just said she wanted to talk to Quiana, but Quiana was the one that stirred off with an attitude. But I mean, I can understand her being annoyed for Jawalia just showing up on her property like that, especially after she refused to meet up with her at a restaurant. If I don't want to meet up with you at a restaurant, what makes you think I want you to meet up with me at my house? And Quiana said that she just feels like there's no point, especially with the case still active right now. She's like, that's just dumb as hell. Why would I sit there and talk about any of this when this could risk me and my case and be held against me? Then we find out that Quiana and Demodric are still together. They live together. And then we found out that Demodric is still hitting up Jawalia for some coochie. He's hitting her up in the middle of the night saying, Mama, you up? So he can try to use the excuse that he's probably going to go tuck his children into bed, when really he's going to be tucking freaking Jawalia into bed. But Jawalia acted like she told him no, and that's what the receipts depicted. And she acts like she's done with that. But I don't know, because some of her Facebook posts that she's made, you know, that's happened since the season finale, that was filmed almost a year ago, and I've seen Facebook posts from her since then admitting to sleeping with Demodric. So at this point, I just think it's a never-ending cycle. Like, this is probably going to just continue happening for the rest of their lives as long as they continue allowing it. But that's pretty much it, guys. The charges did end up getting dismissed. There were a lot of people questioning, like, were these charges even real? But no, these were real charges. This was not just for a storyline. I shared the receipts in a previous video. I'm too lazy to go back and get the receipts now. But if you go and look on my past videos, I do have a video about it, and it's like in my title talking about an update on Quiana's case where I share the receipts, and there are receipts that show that there was indeed an active case, an active warrant at one point, and the case has been dismissed. A lot of people are doubting it because they're like, how can there be a case against Quiana if there's no evidence showing that she was the one who did it? And I'm shocked at that too, but somehow they were able to pull it off. I don't know if Jawalia lied on the police report and acted like she knew more than she really did. I don't know.